Hello. For my church history creative assignment, I decided to take inspiration from the memes that we were assigned to do throughout our semester. Personally, I find it much easier to understand religious and church history through a humorous lens, so I made several Twitter interactions between some of the historical and religious figures that we've been studying. So I'll be going through and reading out each meme and pointing out any details that I may have specifically added to each. Also, please ignore me if you hear me laughing at my own jokes. I think these are pretty funny. So, to start off with, we have a Virgin Mary pregnancy announcement I'm expecting, and Joseph responding with a couple question marks. So, as a kid, I always thought it would be a pretty awkward conversation between Mary and Joseph when she is a virgin and then suddenly is knocked up by supposedly divine means. So, yeah, that lovely little interaction. Next, we have Seraphim at closest angel to God posting a new profile photo and startling a human with the at of mortal, to which the seraphim replies, "Be not afraid." When Professor Kern showed us a photograph of a realistic seraphim, to be honest, I was a little taken aback, and I could only assume that the people in the Bible who the seraphims reveal themselves to were also reacted in this way, only to be met with, "Be not afraid." This is definitely something that is a repeated theme throughout the Bible. Next, we have a little Pentecost meme, to which John says, "Pentecost is so fun. What a lovely reunion." And I specifically made it have 12 retweets from the other disciples, because Judas got replaced, obviously. To which the Holy Spirit responds, "Hey, sorry I'm late. I brought you guys a gift." And John begins to respond in Hebrew. So this actually translates to, "Wow, we're speaking in other languages. That is so cool." And I know that theoretically they already would be speaking in Hebrew, but since I'm writing these in English, I figured it would be easier. Also pointing out the Holy Spirit's Twitter username is at Ghost with the Most. Next we have Jesus Christ himself on Twitter at Son of Man, asking his followers, "Who do the crowds say that I am? Or who do you say that I am?" To which Peter responds, "You are the Messiah." And Jesus gives him a little thumbs up because he's right. I remember reading about this in Luke, and I think it's an interesting take when they're trying to have faith that he is the Messiah and they're asking him, "Who are you? Are you the Messiah? Tell us so we can tell other people." And Jesus instead just says, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter gets it right. Now we have Peter's denial. A servant says, "Yo, I saw at Peter disciple with Jesus. He's definitely a Christ supporter." Peter says, "Nah, I don't associate with him." And someone else pipes up and they said, "He is definitely one of them." And Peter denies it yet again, saying, "Man, I am not." Finally, another citizen says, "At Peter disciple is also Galilean, so he is certainly with at Son of Man," which was Jesus' Twitter handle. Peter says, "I literally have no idea what you're talking about," which is the third denial. And then he says, "Did anyone else hear that rooster?" This is definitely an interesting take on Twitter. I think it's actually a really good representation because it's easy to show how many times he denied it and then describes how he heard the rooster kind of as an instant karma to denying Jesus. I honestly really liked learning about the rich man and Lazarus parable, so of course I had to include a joke about it. Here we have Lazarus at Lazzy's Rough Life saying, "I'm outside your gate. Can you let me in, please? I'm starving," with a sad face. To which the rich man at "I have so much money" says, "Nah, I'm busy eating and drinking right now." Because in class we described how he was eating and drinking and being merry and sent the dogs out to Lazarus instead of helping him. So then we have Jesus responding with, "I saw that." I actually have a sticker in real life that says "I saw that" of this exact picture. So to have the opportunity to put this in a meme was honestly I couldn't pass it up. Next, we have the Catholic Church at Heavenly Humor posting about an indulgence ad. Have too many sins to account for? Are you worried about your time in purgatory? Click this link here for indulgences. Get forgiven for a small fee. www.indulgencehotline.com. We have, of course, a lot of people responding to it because at the time, of course, who wouldn't want to get forgiven for their sins and spend less time in purgatory? However, one of these people that responds to it is Martin Luther saying, yeah, I don't like this, with 95 comments following it to represent the 95 Theses. Now, while I would have loved to include all 95 Theses following this in this meme, I feel like the little 95 is enough to represent the panic that the Catholic Church probably would have seen. And if they posted this today and saw Martin Luther commenting 95 on it, they most likely would panic as well. Moving on, we have a little representation of the origin of demons, where the daughter of a human at apparently irresistible tweets, wow, Earth is so fun. I love it down here. And is immediately responded to by a son of God at I'm more powerful than you, sliding in with a nice little hey and a winky face. I honestly think it's a really funny concept for divine creatures to slide into someone's DMs on Twitter. Um, because I used to be a huge fan of Greek mythology, and I would always think about Zeus going down and procreating with all of the humans, and how that would probably be an interesting sight to see. So I wanted to make a Twitter meme and include how funny it would look on Twitter for a son of God to just respond to the daughter of a human. Next, we have Parable of the Rich Fool being represented. Remain in the crowd at My Brother Sucks. At Jesus and says, tell my brother to divide his inheritance. To which Jesus says, life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Hashtag don't be greedy. And then proceeds to at the Pharisees and says, take notes, Pharisees, at holier than thou. To which the Pharisees respond, WTF. The parable of the rich fool was one of my favorite parables again. I think it's really funny to see it represented like this. It's very open, and I think it's funny to think about that people on Twitter could just at Jesus and be like, hey, tell my brother to do this. Um, I definitely would at Son of Man and ask him for advice. I think it's really funny. I would love to see Jesus and the Pharisees go back and forth on real life Twitter. I feel like they could get into some real online feuds. And then finally, we have the betrayal of Judas. Here we have Jesus Christ saying, one of my apostles will betray me with a sad face. And Matthew asks, is it me, Jesus? Jesus says, no, it is not you. And Judas goes, is it me, Jesus? And Jesus responds with a mocking photo saying, is it me, Jesus? I'm not a huge fan of Judas. As you can see, I've made his Twitter username Judas. Apologies. But I think the conversation at that table in real life would be pretty darn awkward, with Jesus being fully aware that Judas is going to be the one to betray him. He doesn't tell the people at the table, though. I think that this is pretty funny call out on Twitter. Um, it's not accurate to the Bible, and I don't think Jesus would mock anybody necessarily. But I think it was a pretty funny opportunity. Poor Matthew is responding, worried, is it me, Jesus? And then Judas, hesitant, you can see the little ellipses following the is it me? But yeah, that is, I think, my favorite meme out of all of them, to be honest. I hope you enjoyed going through these little historical memes, and I think it could give a really great modern interpretation of the Bible and of all the work that we've been doing. And honestly, it really helped me further my understanding, and being able to apply it to a humorous situation is just perfect. So, thank you.